Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome on this Tuesday afternoon. It may not be afternoon wherever you are, but here in sunny California, LA, it is Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m. Thanks for joining me live. If you are, this is Balanced Life, conversations that connect to a healthier you. With me, your host, I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle. And I do shows that highlight people in the health and wellness business with the wonderful things that they are working on, with products and services that they are doing, so you in turn can live your best life as well. And I am also a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health coach. And so you can join in on all the fun that we do, that I do with my clients, either in fitness or in health coaching or personal training or group classes, by going to my website, which is balancedlifebydebbie.com. And there you'll find all the services that I offer. And I do a free 1 hour intake. So you can go ahead and subscribe right there to me. I'll get right back to you and we'll meet each other in person or over Zoom. Also, you could go to my YouTube channel, where it's Balanced Life by Debbie, YouTube. All of these wonderful shows, and I have almost 100 of them now on my one channel. I have two channels, so I have almost 200 shows on health and wellness. But my show, Balanced Life by Debbie, Conversations Connecting to a Healthier You on YouTube, has so much content, and there is every question you might have under the health and wellness umbrella. You can find the answer with an expert there. So I invite you to subscribe to that channel. Please do. So today I have another really wonderful show for you, and this is a subject I haven't hit yet, and it's of interest to me. And if it's not of interest to you now, eventually it's going to be. It's a provocative conversation. So getting started with this. Oh, I also want to tell you that you can call in. So you can be, that's why I do a live show, so you become part of the conversation. So the number here is 323-524-2599. Write this down if you're listening live, 323-524-2599. Or you can go to my Facebook page, Balanced Life by Debbie, Conversations Connect to a Healthier You, and make a comment, ask a question right there on Facebook. And we'll get back to you after the show, myself or my guest. And that's the whole idea, is to keep the conversation going, okay? All right, on to introductions. I'm excited about this one. So today we're going to learn what the terms positive aging and bonus years mean. My guest, Dr. Dorian Mintzer, believes we are each unique and have a special gift. She believes we have an opportunity to embrace our bonus years as a time to learn, grow, and evolve. She also says we owe it to ourselves to reflect on our life, harvest our experiences, perspective, and wisdom, and live our life with intention so that we have absolutely no regrets. Dr. Dorian has revolutionized the concept of retirement and aging. She is a retirement coach, consultant, and a popular speaker. She combines her personal and professional experiences as a therapist, a coach, and a teacher with expertise in adult development, life planning, and positive psychology as she works to help people navigate the second half of their life. So let's talk about aging right now. Will you please welcome to the show Dr. Dorian Mintzer. Hi, Dorian.
Hey, it's so nice to be here.
Nice to have you. Nice to have you. Thank you for joining me and taking time out of your day. I know it's later there on the East Coast. It's almost evening. So I appreciate the time and attention that you're going to give to us right here in the next 45 minutes. I'm very intrigued, as you know, I reached out to you with the whole concept of aging, and I'm actually writing a book called Age Young. And it's sort of in the same idea of some of the phrases that you have, bonus years and positive aging. I think that's all, terms that we need to dig into. But before we talk about how you started getting into revolutionizing retirement and the aging process, I want to hear your backstory and a little bit about you. I want to know where you grew up and what you were doing that kind of put you on this road to where you sit today.
I ended up sort of moving around in the country. I was born actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then lived in Connecticut for a bit, and then Indiana, and then California. And then ultimately, got my college degree at University of California, Berkeley, and was there during the 60s, which was a really exciting time to be there. And then I progressively moved east again, back through Pittsburgh and to the Boston area where I live now, and I've lived since 1975. I had gotten a master's degree in Pittsburgh and then my PhD at Smith College in the kind of Boston area. And I've always been interested in people in life transitions. And so, as I got older and older, the transitions ended up being more about midlife and beyond. And in addition, when I was in my early 20s, just after I got my master's degree, I had a near-death experience. I was whitewater rafting and got caught in a whirlpool, and some strangers saw me, were able to get help to me, and I really did have kind of that momentary experience where my life flashed in front of me, and I couldn't believe I was going to have to give up. And I made vows to myself of what I was going to do and accomplish if I were to live. And luckily for me, I did. And part of it was that I wanted to live life really intentionally. And I really learned from that experience not to take life for granted and to live as fully as possible. And I think that has really informed my life and the work that I do on a personal level, as well as the work that I do clinically.
Wow.
So now so that's sort of my backstory.
You really, I've had one slight near-death experience, also took place in a water, it wasn't rafting, but it was canoeing, and my daughter fell in, and I went after her, and we got caught in the current, and we couldn't get back. And I was holding on to my daughter. She was 4 years old at the time, and I couldn't catch my breath. And we were rescued, obviously, but in that moment, you said that did you consciously think, if I survive, I'm going to live a life of purpose and not miss out? Did you really, was it more of an after thing of being in gratitude kind of thing? I'm just curious.
A little bit of both. During the time, some specific events and situations were very clear in my mind of things that if I were to live, I vowed that I was going to make changes with. One was a relationship I was in, and some family issues. And it was just this sense that there were important things I wanted to do and accomplish. It took more form afterwards, as I realized that it really did inform my way of approaching life and death, and wanting for myself to not take life for granted, and to really, in my work with clients, to help them really recognize this is today, this is now, and it's our opportunity to live life in a way that is with purpose and meaning. It's gotten more clarified as I've learned more about adult development and positive psychology and holistic life planning. So I think it's gotten clearer for me over the years, but it started then with some really important vows of what was important to me then and what were some things I wanted to say and do so that I wouldn't end up having regrets.
I love that, because that is a really early age to kind of make that commitment to yourself. But you had a really, devastating experience at that moment. And to follow through on that at that age is also, but because as we get older, and we're going to really talk about this, but as we get older is when we really start thinking about a life of purpose and a life of, not that we don't have goals at an early age, we do. It's just living life and experiences change direction. As you were saying, we change direction a lot, and embracing that or fighting that or how we handle that somehow brings us to the next stage or the next place or the next experience. And that's when you're in your 20s, you don't quite see life as that. You see, I don't know, I think, being in my mid 60s now, I know life goes like this and like this and like that, and it's not this clear goal pattern, and that's where you go. There are so many. I think our youth today sees that a little better than maybe our generation did, but still, it is definitely bumpier, and you can either embrace those experiences and learn from them, or you can fight them. And we don't want to do that, which is why makes you such an expert at helping us not to fight it and to understand it. You said something about holistic aging, I believe you just mentioned. That
Holistic life planning.
Life planning. I think that's so relevant and so important. I hadn't heard that term quite before. But let's talk about, we're going to go through many subjects of what you do, but let's talk about when talking about changing and retirement, and how has that changed over the years, and how do you sort of revolutionize retirement in so many words?
I think retirement, if we think about it, in the past, it used to be more of a destination.
Yes.
General retirement age was like 62 or 65. Many industries prior to now had mandatory retirement ages. And so people just sort of thought about it as the time to retire. And the lifespan was much shorter then. So people often would retire. And then, within 7, 10 or so years, the expectation was that people would die. We're living longer now. And now the expectation is once you reach the traditional retirement age of 62 or 65, there are these bonus years, these extra years, since we're living longer, that, the expectation is you're going to have 20, 30, and maybe 40 more years of time being very vital and being able to really, be actively part of the world. So retirement's not a destination so more, it's more of a journey or a transition. And I think it's helpful to think about that. It's important not just to think about what you're retiring from, but what you're retiring to. Mm-hmm. And there's so many more options now that there were in like my parents' generation. So it's really an exciting time where there can be kind of new beginnings. So I think that's a big, big change, that it's a transition. And like all transitions, there's the end, there's potentially a period of unknown, and then new beginnings. And I always find it helpful for your listeners, like think about the retirements you've experienced in the past. Have you had more trouble with endings, with the unknown, with the new beginning, with none of it, with all of it? It's helpful to think about it because it can help inform how you're going to deal with this next stage of life. Will it be the grieving and the letting go? Because we need to kind of let go in order to make space for something new. Or is it maybe the not knowing what that something new will be, or will it be, difficulty with just starting something new and change in and of itself?
So that's great. I mean, that really kind of defines I love the positive spin you take on aging and the bonus years. They are bonus. If if we're working our whole lives to do what? To survive or to get to a destination? I mean, we have to think of when we are in a retirement phase or age, for me, I'm just getting started because I'm a reinvention at an older age. In my late 50s, I changed my career 100%. So I did a turnaround. It's like, okay, I'm still in the beginning stages, and the podcast being one of them. But when we think of, retirement, we always think of it, like you said, settling down, being a little bit more dormant and not. But I think it can be such a positive thing if you look at it that way and know that you're going into it that way from the onset. Having the attitude is everything, which also comes with this holistic lifestyle you're talking about, because you can live a long life, but a life longevity with quality is one of the terms I use in my practice, because you can have longevity, but if you're not doing what you love and you're not moving and you're not eating well, you're not doing the self-care things, you're not socializing, your finances have gone down, there's a lot of stress, and not only are you taking time away from you, but you're wasting what could be the bonus years, the really highlights of your life. Even with the aging process, there's physical limitations sometimes, but we can even overcome a lot of that with the right attitude and the right purpose, I think.
It's so true. And actually, there's studies that by the time we're 65, it's 30% genetics, which is not totally small. 30% if you've got a lot of genetic issues are there, but 70% are things that we can have some control over, like exercising our body and brain, all the things you just mentioned, Debbie, exercising our body and brain, spirituality, meaningful relationships, sense of connection, engagement, purpose, and meaning. These are a lot of things we can have some control over. We can't control everything. No. But even with chronic illnesses or even terminal illnesses, there's still ways to engage fully in the world and not just sort of wait, kind of thinking that there's an expiration date on your forehead and waiting to die.
Right.
It's a movement from, you sort of implied it too, Debbie, it's a movement from what used to be thought as the D words, that retirement was, kind of depression and despair and, ultimately death. Now they're more of the R words, like revolutionize or rewire or refire, kind of more upbeat words, which aren't Pollyannish, because, we still are getting older and we have to deal with, our strengths and our limitations, but it's not all downhill. There's so much more that we can do, and it's really an exciting time of life.
I would think so. I mean, I work with a lot of people, mostly women over 45, mostly, not all. My youngest client is 17, but I work with people that I think sometimes there's too much emphasis on the aches and pains and sort of the physical, I'm not going to say deteriorations, but the physical things that creep up as we age. And like you said before, there are some things we do have control over, and other things there's a genetic propensity towards that. And the thing, I talk to my clients a lot, and when I do talks and speak, I talk about condition versus constitution. Constitution being your genetics, condition being something we have control over. So what I often do with clients that start to sort of hem and haw about a wrinkle or wrinkles or a little extra body fat that's taken on with hormone loss, or the aches or pains of joints and muscles, I start to talk about their condition and what they do have control over. And that's really what I help people with, is helping them understand that they can take control, a holistic look at everything and take control. So you don't have to nitpick those things that sort of come with age, because they're going to happen. We're going to age. But aging should be a destination of positivity and not one of dread, like you said, a D word. So it's an uphill battle sometimes, I think. And you're right, our generations has shifted the attitude. We're living longer, which obviously means we're taking better care of ourselves. But we also have a lot of things that we fear now. I mean, our food is modified, our planet, even our soils have been manipulated, so we're not even getting the best source of food. Our air is not clean. There's all kinds of things that are coming at us and there's a lot of fear. And now this last year and a half, living within a pandemic, there's that fear alone has caused stress levels to go up tremendously. So having a positive attitude about knowing that things are going to get better and not worse is so vital, I think, to make sure that you live out those years you deserve.
Yeah, and I think the term that I like is optimistic realism. So it's like being realistic, but also trying to be optimistic, because attitude, as you were saying, Debbie, it makes such a difference. There's actually a study out of Yale by Becca Levy that says a more positive attitude about life and aging can actually give us 7.5 more years of life. And so it doesn't mean being, kind of in la-la land, because no matter how well we take care of ourselves, our body is still aging. And ultimately, we all will die. But it's the how we live, and we have this opportunity as we get older of becoming more whole, of being able to, take some of the parts we had to put on the back burner because there were so many other demands in life. Mm-hmm. And we have a chance to think about doing things differently, to use our skills. Some people decide to keep working. Some want to have what's called an encore career, where they use their skills, maybe working for the greater good. Some people, really recognize that as we get older, there's this perspective we have, some wisdom, and a real emphasis on wanting to give back, on wanting, to try to help make the planet a better place for future generations. There's certainly a need for that now. And I think the importance of intergenerational working, older people have a lot to teach younger people, and younger people have a lot to teach older people. So we really need each other.
Hands down, 100%, absolutely. I think I think, and we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk about ageism, both internally and physically out in the world, and talk about that term. You have a little transition talk that talking about, but I think that ageism is, and I've experienced it firsthand. So I really want to talk about that, because that will set you back. That will throw you back down to first base for sure. And we're going to be right back after this message from one of my sponsors. I have been a wine enthusiast for many decades, but for a while I had to stop drinking wine because of the sleepless nights and the headaches that I would have in the morning, even after only one glass. Does this sound familiar? So for the past 5 years, and since the start of my show, I've been looking for a healthy wine, and finally I found the answer I've been looking for: dry farm wines. Dry farm wines are lab tested for purity, just 12.5% alcohol or less, 0.15 grams of sugar or less per glass, very low sulfites, and free of toxic additives. Dry farm wines are dry farmed with healthy, biodiverse soil, and the taste, bright and vibrant due to no manipulation. I can't say enough about the amazing wines that I've tried. And now you too can drink wine and not worry about how it is negatively affecting your health. Just go to dryfarmwines.com/balanced life by Debbie, so you too can taste the love put into every bottle. All right, we're back. We're back with my guest, Dr. Dorian Mintzer, and we are talking about revolutionizing retirement and our aging process and how we can look at these as our bonus years. So we touched on ageism, and I know you talk a lot about how you can internalize that and put yourself in a drawer, basically, just because you think you're of a certain age, and how we also get it that comes right at us, that people throw in our faces. Can we talk about that a little bit, and how you help clients and people through that?
Unfortunately, ageism is alive and well in our society. Not all cultures, it's alive and well everywhere, but some cultures actually revere elder people. Our country doesn't tend to do that. And, there often has been this sense that, people as they get older are either invisible or there are these notions about what old people are like. So it can make people be very frightened of becoming older, rather than being able to embrace, that there's a wisdom and perspective that we have. And part of what happens is it's easy to internalize some of these myths that occur and to think like, oh, I'm a certain age, therefore I can't learn something. Or, looking at people who are older than we are, and to really feel badly for them, as though being old is a really bad thing, rather than it's a gift that, that we can, how lucky we are that we're able to live longer. Even the concept of 60s the new 40 or 70s the new 50, I don't really like that concept because it's still holding on to that youth is what's revered. I like to say 60 is the new 60 or 70 is the new 70. I'm 75 and I'm proud of it. And many people in their 70s actually say the 70s is the best decade of their life. There's less pressures on them. I'm still working and, I love what I'm doing and, envision that I want to, keep working for a while. But it is important to just recognize that we can become our own worst enemy if we view getting older as this terrible thing. It doesn't mean that it's all, sugar and cream or whatever. I can't remember the expression at the moment, but, there are hard parts and, there are changes and there can be losses of hearing or eyesight or, not being able to do things as well. At 70, I am not able to run like I did when I was in my 30s and 40s. You have to change your dreams sometimes.
Well, you have to go with what we were talking about earlier, what is a natural progression of aging. And our systems slow down. That just happens. That's just a given. Nobody has, a superpower that's going to allow their body not to have a loss of hormones. Our heart rate slows as we age. Just having your heart rate slows down every system in your body, your digestive tract, everything slows down. And though that it starts to sound a little bit, dismal, it isn't. If you if you go with it and not use it as an excuse to not do something or to not move forward. So you can't run. I can't run. I've destroyed my knees from being a competitive runner. So I walk and I ride a bike, and you find alternatives. You find other ways to keep that blood pumping, those systems activated, that heart rate going, that digestive tract, assimilating all the nutrients that you need. You got to keep moving in order to do that. Do you find, because what I'm alluding to, and I get a little this from my clients, again, women that are aging and nitpicking, do you find that people use aging as an excuse not to do something? I'm too, like you said, I'm too old for that, or although that's too painful, or, I wouldn't even think of that at this age. Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, and that's the internalized ageism.
Okay.
And I think it's really important to confront that, sometimes people have told me that grandchildren will say, come on, grandma, act your age. Like, what's the age that a grandmother's supposed to act like, or, people now are getting married at different ages. People are going to school at different ages. There's a whole emphasis on lifelong learning. It's not just for the young. And I think in that respect, it is important to change your mindset and to realize there's still a lot. In fact, I don't like still a lot because that's, kind of like a lot of people lose it. But there's a lot that we can do. And, even like with volunteering, studies have shown that if you've been doing volunteering, there's more likelihood you'll continue it, when you're older. Mm-hmm. But people do sometimes use age as an excuse. And so there's a lot of, and I know in your work, Debbie, being a trainer and all, it's a lot of just helping people change their mindset to have this, yes, I can attitude, not the way that you could work out when you were, maybe 20 years younger, but there's still a lot you can do. There are actually studies of people in their, 80s and 90s, who are maybe even wheelchair bound. And there are different movements that just kind of keep your brain going. And there are studies that show that, age 50 onward, our brains are actually still regenerating. Gene Cohen has written a wonderful book, The Mature Mind, and he talks about the plasticity, of the brain and the creativity that can come with age. And Robert Butler, who actually is the person who, a long time ago in the 60s, coined the term ageism, he said if exercise could be prescribed as a pill, it would be the most prescribed pill in the world, because it's so important to move, to connect our mind and body. I mean, they're connected, but to move, and it really makes a difference. And so you're really doing such wonderful work, Debbie, of getting people to think about the integration of their mind and their bodies.
Oh, it's so true. Thank you. Yes, and you as well. I mean, we're interconnected in that way, in that it's really important. There's a gut brain connection, and what I find is when people start thinking about wanting, and this is what I help people sort of launch in their life and kind of change mindset around, when they start wanting to take better care of themselves. So they stop eating junk food, they cut out sugar, they cut out the things, and everybody's so individual. And I would believe that the aging process and the mindset around aging is not a one-size-fits-all thing either. So we have to meet people where they're at. But when they're willing and want to make that change, they can actually, a lot of us start to look at what happened to our parents. I lost my father at 46 from cancer, and I lost my mother to dementia and also cancer. She lived a longer life, but she did not have those quality of those last 20 years. And it's because she didn't take care of herself, and she was not thinking about what she was putting in her body. She wasn't moving her body. She was smoking when she got a chance, cutting off blood supply to the brain, so she ended up with dementia and Alzheimer's. So we can avoid that. And again, we still have to deal with our constitution and what genetics gave us, but we have the control over trying to fight that off, and the word fight's a little strong, but to really nip it in the bud. And that's what I want people to learn from an early age, because if you do that from an early age, that's going to carry through to your senior years, and that's going to give you the quality of life that it's going to allow you to have those years as bonus years. And it's really important to me that my clients understand that connection. What I know, you work with people and you talk about giving tips for aging well, and we've been touching on this all along, but what do you do with your clients? What are the tips you give them? Moving, we know, is one of them.
That's one. I think it's also helpful to think about what role either working or active parenting has played in your life, and to really think about what has it provided. So for example, I'm generalizing this, but in general, either active parenting or working gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It provides some structure to your life. If you're in a relationship, other than maybe during this period of time with COVID, it provides a time, together and apart. It provides generally community. It provides a sense of self-esteem. It provides connection, engagement, and purpose and meaning. And I think that connection, engagement, and purpose and meaning are so important. And actually, Marty Seligman, who's considered the father of positive psychology, talks about them as, sort of the three legs of well-being. So if you think about active parenting and work, providing that, it becomes important to think about how will you build that in your life if you're no longer working, or if your kids have gotten launched and you're still a parent, but they're not needing you in such an active way. How will you build connection, engagement, and purpose and meaning into your life? So that's one really big tip that I work with people, focusing on that.
I think that's really important when you look at, and I think everything we're talking about today has to do with this, the blue zones in our world. There's 5 of them, and only one in the United States, which is here in California where I live, Loma Linda, California. And that's because it's the 7-day Adventists and their sense of community and purpose in life, which we don't necessarily have in this country because we don't embrace necessarily living with our elders and having that extended family time like they do in other countries. And that's why the other 4 zones are in Italy and Greece and Japan. So because they do carry on that with the elders, and I think that's really an important fact. That's so important. Loneliness can really put you in a dark place. And it can happen at any age, but really when your friends are off and not around you anymore, or you're not communicating with them for whatever reason, you don't have your work or your purpose to go to, it can really set you back. And that will change what's going on internally too. So it's so important, so important. What other things, what other tips besides community? And
I think really recognizing the importance of lifelong learning, that it's not just at a certain age, but that we can keep learning and we can teach and give back. But I think the idea of learning lifelong, and what I mentioned before, I think another tip is intergenerational. We need friends of different ages. We need to feel needed. We need to learn how to ask for help. I think women in particular, it's often sort of hard for many women. It's a generalization, but I think, so often women are socialized to be caregivers, and it's wonderful to be a caregiver. But I think it's so important to recognize how important it is for a caregiver to also take care of themselves and to be able to ask for help. The longer we live, the likelihood is that if you're in a relationship or just even among siblings or friends, you're either going to be a caregiver or a care receiver. And so it's very important to just recognize how much we need each other and to cultivate and develop these relationships. So I think that's another tip to, regardless of what your age is, let yourself think about having friendships and getting to know people of other ages. Sometimes, people get involved in sort of more age segregation, and that's not healthy for anybody. We really do need each other. And, the old concept of neighborhood is, there are people of different ages, and older people can help, with younger people. And, if people don't have their own children or grandchildren, they can be a grandparent to, a child that maybe doesn't have their own grandparent. There's so many ways we can be with each other, and it can be in in our living community, or it can be thinking about, at whatever age, starting to do volunteer work, and thinking about being a mentor, or thinking about working with either older people, if you're younger, or with younger people. But we really all do need each other. So I think another tip is stay connected, stay vital, and recognize, that we both need, to be involved. We need that connection, engagement, and purpose and meaning. And we have a lot to give, regardless of our age. We do not have to make ourselves or render ourselves invisible.
Right. I agree with you so much. So vital, so valuable. I was thinking, some people go through divorce or death of a spouse or a loved one later in life, and there's a financial loss sometimes. Can we talk about finances and aging? Because we're talking about embracing our bonus years, if you will. But if the money isn't there, you wouldn't be able to embrace it the way you want. How can we set ourselves up so we can think of it in a positive way and not dread not having enough money?
There's no question that finances is a really big part of um, thinking about life ahead. I think finances and health and wellness are two, really big, important
They
areas.
go hand in
And I'm a
hand.
believer, and they often influence each other.
Yes.
They can influence how long you can work or in what ways you can work. And I'm a believer that no matter how much or how little money you have, it's helpful to talk with a financial planner. Um, and again, working with somebody who is kind of holistic, which means helping you not just think about a number in terms of the money, but how you want, what your lifestyle options are, how you want your money to work for you. And I think finances are a big part of the puzzle. And I think it's easy for women if you're in a relationship to defer to a partner. It doesn't happen it's beginning to shift a little bit more, but and it may be if you're in a relationship, one person kind of is perhaps in charge of finances, but it's important to learn about them and know about it so that you really have an understanding of the questions to ask and how to think about saving money. There may be obligations and responsibilities that you have, but really trying to figure out how do you try to fulfill those, but also take care of yourself. I actually like to think about a book I co-authored. It's called The Couples Retirement Puzzle. And it's written for couples because couples weren't talking, but it's really good for individuals or couples. And the notion is there are all these, kind of parts of our life, and it's unique to us. And there all these pieces of our life, these puzzle pieces aren't going to fit together perfectly like a jigsaw puzzle, but they influence each other. Just like I said, finances and health and wellness are, I think, are the two biggest pieces that can influence, how long you need to work or if you can work, where you live. Expectations are another puzzle piece. Your intimacy and sexuality, social life. Even in the best of relationships, we need other friendships, spirituality, purpose and meaning, legacy, end of life conversations. All of these are important. And there are all these different puzzle pieces, and we need to puzzle it out. We need to think about these things. And, what Debbie was saying, I think finances are so important, but it's not everything. But the financial piece does enable you to have some of the lifestyle options that you would like in your life. So the sooner you start thinking about it and talking about it and dealing with it, the more prepared you'll be for that stage of life when you get older. And it's true what Debbie was just saying, that sometimes you can maybe be in a relationship and you think, I'm going to be sharing my life with somebody, and then life happens. People die, or there's a high incidence of divorce of people over age 50. And so dreams change and finances change. So the sooner you just kind of recognize and try to, understand, and again, control the parts you can, the better off it is, so that you're a little more prepared for the next stage of life.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think being prepared is big. I mean, I was married with somebody for 35 years, and everything I thought, why, again, I was in my mid-50s, changed and shifted, and the finances were one of them. And so what I thought was well planned out, things that we, had talked about from the beginning. We had 2 grown kids out of college at that point. I thought was going to, carry, us through our retirement years, or at least our older age, if we decided to work for a long time. And that all changed along with the end of my marriage. So I basically support myself and changed my career at the same time. And it's like, whoa, this is stuff that I thought I had figured out. And you talk about different transitions and how to handle transitions as we go through life, because the unexpected happens. And what, again, best laid plans, and then you just, boom, you get hit. And so How do you work with your clients to help them best handle those transitions in a positive way and keep moving up and not get set back?
Part is, I think what I said earlier, I try to help people look at how they've handled transitions in their life before, because I think that helps them understand perhaps where they're struggling right now at the particular transition in their life at the moment. And as I said, some people have much more trouble with the ending. And some people admit, even after many years, that they never let themselves grieve, or really fully let go of what was. And so they've, kind of kept themselves a little bit in limbo land, and that it's made it harder, to really think about a new beginning. But a lot of the work I do with people is really understanding transitions, understanding the stories that they tell themselves. We all have these stories, many from our past. And what's true is we can't change things that happened to us in the past, but we can change the meaning that we put on it. Mm-hmm. And we can change kind of the impact that they have on us.
I love that.
And so in a way we can, it's like rewrite our story in a sense, because we can't change the events, but we can change the power that it has over us so that it sometimes can free you up to move forward. So, with clients, I may work with them on what those past hurts or pain or transitions have been, or where they may be feeling stuck, and what they still perhaps have to let go of. Or if the fear is the new beginning, what are those obstacles that are getting in their way, that are making it hard to imagine that they can, make these changes, after, say, a divorce, just like what you were saying, Debbie, to reinvent yourself, to say, I have a lot to give in this world. Maybe there's some things I need to learn, but
I went back
I'm
to school.
worth it, and I want to take the time to do it. Yeah.
I went back to school and finished in 2019. I went back to school for 3 years to do what I do today.
It's a great example.
I have to take one last break, talking about healthy food. We're going to take a break on that. And then I want to talk about how people can work with you, your books, and what you might have coming up, and some closing thoughts, okay? And we'll be right back after this last message. Today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Do you feel like you are stuck in a dinner rut? With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal deliveries right to your door. Just skip all those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and, keyword here, affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less. With over 25 recipes to choose from each week, there's something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. I've always told my clients, when it comes to diet, it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. That's why I always recommend HelloFresh. It's a great way to home cook, have meals with healthy ingredients that you love, and it's well researched that cooking at home saves money and saves you from gaining any of that unwanted weight. So go to the link in our show notes to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit. Okay, that was our last little commercial break here. In the few minutes we have left, Dorian, I wonder, can you talk about the books that you've got and the programs that you have and how people can get a hold of you?
So probably first to mention is my website, which is revolutionizeretirement.com. And if you go to my website, you'll see that there's a number of books that I've contributed to. One I was a co-author of, another a Boomer Playbook I was kind of a co-producer of, and others I just contributed chapters to. I also offer coaching, which for the most part is virtual. It's totally virtual at this point during the pandemic. For those that are local in Boston, perhaps at some point in the future, I will work with people in person, but right now everything is virtual until the world is a safer, healthier place. I also have a monthly program that I'd like to tell your listeners about. It's free and it's open to professionals and the public. It's the fourth Tuesday of each month at noon Eastern time. So 9 o'clock California time, because I know Debbie's California time. And it's every month except for December, because December is just too close to the holidays. I call it my fourth Tuesday Revolutionize Your Retirement Interview with Expert series to help you create a fulfilling second half of life. I realized over the years I've met so many terrific people at conferences or books I've read, and not everybody has access to them. So once a month, I interview somebody. Sign up always begins the week before at my website, revolutionizeretirement.com. And once you've signed up, you'll get all the call-in information. And after the call, if you've signed up, you'll get a recording link. So even if you can't be there live, you can listen to the recording after the call. So, that's something that's free and, open to anybody. So you can pass the word along. I've interviewed a number of wonderful people. And there's also a Facebook group I have, Revolutionize Retirement. And as I said, I also do coaching, and people can reach me through the website or Dorian at dorianmintzer.com. And there are retirement coaches really, around in the country. There's an organization called the Life Planning Network. There's Retirement Coaches Association. And most people who do coaching tend to work virtually, unless, they're local in your community. And I, as I think I've said before, and as Debbie has said, I know some of you listening to this program are younger. The earlier you start thinking about, these issues, the more choices you're going to have as you get older. And actually, the person who wrote the foreword of the book that I co-authored said he thought the book should be given to newlyweds. You're not necessarily thinking about retirement then, but the focus is on how to have some of these really difficult conversations, how to talk about finances, how to talk about health and wellness, how to talk about expectations and, responsibilities with others and spirituality and what's important to you. It's so important with whoever's important in your life to take time and have important conversations and end-of-life conversations too. Even if you're young, it's like an act of love and liberating, to not be afraid to talk about these things. It helps you live life more fully.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. And I was just going to ask you for final words, but I think you just said them. I really just think you wrapped it all up. It's really important to, no matter what age you are, what you do now will affect what goes on later. And so learning about ways to take care of yourself and the holistic approach to what can carry you through, because you want to live that life of quality and age young. You definitely do. Dorian, I have to thank you for your time and your expertise. What a valuable conversation that we had. And I love that I can refer to this and have people go to my YouTube channel at any point when they're struggling with something that I know that you can help them with. So I want to thank you so much once again. And I want to thank you, my audience, for joining us today. And I want you to keep going out and finding those conversations that connect to a healthier you. Going to see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody. Thank you.